Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? Well, it is the 31st of December. New Year's right around the corner. And, so I wanted to make one last video in this very prolific year of making videos. I did not, I looked to see like how many videos did I actually make this year. It was not 365. Next year, I think I'm going to go with a different approach. But it was kind of an interesting experiment. But anyhow, today I didn't really want to talk about that. I want to talk about shiny thing syndrome. And it's occurred to me that at this point I definitely have shiny thing syndrome when it comes to role-playing games. I went from a year or two ago of really not having that many role-playing games. Most of them revolved around OSR type games, to really branching out, which has been a lot of fun. And I've been checking out a whole bunch of stuff. But it's apparent that I've gotten more and more into these shiny things, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It reminded me of something that we used to call gas. When I moderated a bass guitar forum for a long time, there was a thing called gear acquisition syndrome, and we just kind of joked with each other about it. And the idea is like a new amplifier, a new line of speaker cabinets would come out, a new bass, a new effects processor, whatever it happened to be. Preamp, you'd get into it, and some of these things would just be phenomenal, and you kind of had this like, well, I gotta have it. You'd make the mistake of playing it, and you just get knocked out by like how good this thing sounded, or how cool cool it felt, or whatever it happened to be. And it was making that mistake. You should never try the darn thing. So, I want to talk about some of the stuff that. Well, I already talked about the stuff that I was going to go check out, but really about like the result of having like shiny thing syndrome is that sometimes I've noticed what's happened is I've got more things that I want to do than I'm sure if I'm not sure if I have time to do them all. And sometimes you're really not sure what things to pick up next. Like I got this today from my daughter. Gave me this, and I talked about the idea that I really should at least own the thing and read it. So gotta read through this book. I'm going through right now the Genesis system, and unfortunately one of the side effects I still have to make not a review but an impressions of that system. I won't review it I think fully until I played it, but one of the things that's happened is as I've checked that system out, and remember my intention was really, I didn't really think I wanted to buy into or invest that much into Star Wars, but I found the narrative dice system really interesting and compelling. The more I read this thing, the more evocative it is of a Star Wars feel, the more I feel like I really might need to go buy like Edge of the Empire and get me some Star Wars, because it's sounding more and more compelling. And then I've got some other things want to try out. I got a little Fate that came my way, and I forgot to mention this game that I got, Humanish, on the recommendation of JDRD30, Francois Letarte, and who actually invented one of the monsters in here. This is wrote the bio for it or whatever. This actually uses the face rip system. So a lot of cool stuff coming my way on my shelf. Things for me to read. Things I have been reading. I've also noticed that the more games you learn and read, the easier it is to learn the next one. You have to be very careful not to take your preconceived or your what you've learned about the prior games and automatically stamp them onto this new game. You have to let it stand on its own, but you can start to see after a while there's various design techniques people use, and you can say, I see where they're going here. I'll be careful not to read too much into it, because they might take a left turn, and sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't. And of course, we're getting ready to play this bad boy too. Just got this in the mail, the actual hard copy, which is really cool. But what about the effects of shiny thing syndrome? Outside of like just being like a little overwhelmed, like, man, what do I do first? It's like being at a buffet. My daughter and I went to an Indian buffet today. It was great, but you're not sure what to eat first, and you don't want to load up on one thing because you want to try the next thing. Some of the effects are. A lot of you probably know this, is you start to get involved in one game, and you get so excited about the next one, you have to kind of like reframe your thinking and get back into the first one. Sometimes you just forget about it entirely. I don't want to say I've forgotten about All for One Regime Diabolique, but there's moments where I get so into something else that I have to remember, oh yeah, we still have this game going on, and I have to run the next session, and then I get excited about it all over again. But some of the other things that's made it or become a little bit difficult about having the shiny thing syndrome and having so many pots on the stove is coordinating schedules. It's a little tough to coordinate schedules, especially when you're talking about people that are across the globe. Even just getting my new job, which is great because I have this 9-to-5 job. We're having troubles coordinating the schedules of people that are now like 7 hours apart. We've got Lee, your humble game master, in England, and you've got you've got Jason on the other end of that spectrum, in Colorado. That's a big jump. I'm trying to figure out like when we can all actually get together. And of course, then I'm playing every once in a while with Anthony in Korea, and that's a whole different challenge. And people have like we're all busy adults. Some of us have really busy schedules, so sometimes it can get really hard. Every once in a while, I'd love. It makes me want to work harder at getting a local group together because I think to myself, well, it might be easier to coordinate schedules there, but if you've ever tried to coordinate schedules with people, just even in your own town, in your own time zone, sometimes that can be a little tough. So there's a certain amount of patience. Like some of these things are just going to have to go on the shelf of hope for a while, and so I'll get excited reading about them or reading them, and maybe talking to other people, maybe get to play some one shots. But actually to be able to like dive in deep, because I like to dive in deep to a game. I really do, into a campaign, into a game, whatever. I like to go all in and not really put a time limit on it, and so I've got a lot. I'm not sure like when I'm going to get to all of them, so it can be a little frustrating every once in a while. I'm sure some of you can relate to that sort of phenomenon happening. But it's a good problem to have when it comes right down to it. One of the really cool things, and I know I've mentioned this over and over again, is having things like Facebook groups and or little private forums, private Facebook groups, really great for like archiving stuff, keeping stuff going. And what we've been using an awful lot lately, which is phenomenal, and I never thought this would be so cool, is like the little Facebook Live feature. You can make a little Facebook Live video to your own private group, and it's a lot easier than just typing out a bunch of stuff. And sometimes we can have discussions with each other, sometimes in real time, where we both pop up. But a lot of times somebody will say something, somebody will make a response video, if you will. Really, really cool. But they're there. So you can go back and reference them. That is really, really neat. So technology has really helped gaming, and you don't have to live in separate countries to do that. You can be in the same town but still utilize something like that. So that's really, really cool. So every once in a while I think, man, it would be really cool to get some people in the same time zone, but it can be hard to coordinate those schedules too, can't it? And last but not least, because this video seems to be going all over the place, one thing, I said I accomplished all my goals for last year, and I realized I didn't. The one thing I didn't accomplish was I wanted to introduce some new people to the hobby. And I tried a few people, it just didn't work out. I still really would like to try to do that again. Because I've done that before, and it's a lot of fun. When the light goes on in somebody's eyes, and they really get like what's going on. They get past that trepidation, or they're just not really sure what the heck it is. This is like a video game. Sometimes they're excited, but they don't know what it's about. But when that light goes on, and you can see them get it, that's really, really satisfying. And sometimes they're some of the best players because they haven't been ruined. They don't think like gamers yet. Haven't become jaded like us, or just they can't always see behind the veil, and so it can be a lot more fun. So anyhow, that's just kind of a end of the year video. I hope you guys have a great new year, and talk to you soon. And do you have Shiny Thing Syndrome? I still have gas every once in a while. There's some bass guitar equipment I'd like to get, but you know what? The role-playing games, even the Star Wars games, which are kind of expensive because of the licensed properties, they're a lot cheaper than bass guitar equipment. I'll tell you that.